So the baseball community got a little bit hot yesterday because of this slide from Manny Machado. It was yet another instance of, is Manny Machado dirty or not? Now, my first reaction was, no, Manny, what are you doing? Everyone is starting to like you again, and then you go ahead and do this. I will go ahead and just say it right now. The slow motion camera angle is way worse than what you see in full speed and actually get the context of what happened to Tommy Edman. So we're going to go ahead and talk about it, and I do want to mention that what he did was completely legal. So we're going to talk about both sides, and I want you all to let me know in the comment section down below which side of the fence are you on. But aside from that, we have a lot to talk about. What's going on, everyone? It's Fuzzy. Welcome back to yet another MLB recap. Wow, just like I mentioned, so much to talk about today, so we're not going to waste any time with an intro. The only thing that I'll say is we're so close to 300,000. I love you guys. Thank you all so much for the support. Let me go ahead and kickstart the video off with the newest power rankings courtesy of Major League Baseball. Let me know if you have any issues with anything. I believe that a lot of people are going to have an issue with the A's being in the lower half of the top 10 simply because they're tied for the Red Sox with the best record in baseball, but they're the only top team in baseball with a negative run differential. So they've won a lot of games, but their opponents have actually outscored them. So maybe Major League Baseball is taking that into account. I don't know, but the White Sox, good for them. The #1 team according to MLB. Yesterday was a tough day for Mets fans. Michael Conforto left the game with an apparent leg injury, and unfortunately he is going to have to join a bunch of other teammates on the IL. So the hamstring injury is severe enough to where he is going to miss a week or two, and to add insult to injury, the Rays, they decimated the Mets yesterday. What's his name? Manuel Margot. Let me just say, Manuel Margot against the Mets, you might as well just call him Mark McGwire because he eats them alive. Josh Fleming of the Tampa Bay Rays, he goes 5 innings, only allows 1 hit, and has scoreless baseball through 5. Willy Adames, he makes a web gem, and then he hits a long opposite field Oppo Taco as Brandon Lau hits his 7th home run of the season. Again, like I mentioned, I believe the Mets would have had an easier time competing in yesterday's contest if they weren't completely ravaged by injury. So the Mets have now lost 3 games in a row, but fortunately for them, the Phillies are on a 2-game losing streak, so nothing really happened in terms of that division and the standings. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's talk about the Padres versus the Cardinals. We'll break down the game, and at the very end of these highlights, we'll go ahead and talk about that Manny Machado slide. So Nolan Arenado hits a home run. Actually, you know what, let's talk about the Manny Machado slide because it really was a big factor in how the Padres were able to score a bunch of runs. So Manny Machado, this slide allows the Padres to have a huge inning, and after 2 walks with the bases loaded, the Padres are looking pretty good. Ivan Castillo, his first career base hit is an RBI single to the right side. Tyler O'Neill, a Gold Glover, completely misplays a line drive in left field. Let me just say right now, they said that that catch was a 99% catch probability. As an outfielder, I can tell you those are some of the hardest plays to make, especially when you have all of the fans in the stand. It's hard to judge if it's going to be in front of you, behind you. I mean, that's kind of a no man's land play for Tyler O'Neill. Mark Melanson, he comes in and saves it as the Padres win 5-3. And let's go ahead and talk about Manny Machado because he was the story of yesterday, at least in my opinion. So when you see the slow motion angle, you're thinking to yourself, Manny, why? Like we mentioned in the intro, why are you doing that? You're finally kind of in the good graces of baseball fans. Why would you just blatantly slide into someone's knees? But if you look at the other camera angle, after the slide is completed, because Manny Machado is a runner in the base path, so as soon as Tommy Edman has the ball in his glove, it's pretty much fair game. You have to avoid getting tagged. So I completely understand what Adam Jones was trying to say on Twitter, that it is a completely legal and smart play. He was trying to avoid the tag, and I will say this, Manny Machado was not tagged. As I'm recording this video, Manny Machado has still not been tagged by Tommy Edman. So did he avoid getting tagged, and did he avoid a double play from being turned? Absolutely 100%. It was a legal baseball play. But if you watch the wrong camera angle, it looks like Manny Machado is trying to take out someone's ACL. So unfortunately, I started off with the wrong perspective, but with the help of Adam Jones was able to educate me, and I believe that this was a full legal play, but a lot of people are still going to say it's illegal, and mostly because it's Manny Machado. Let's face it. Also, I do want to mention that if Manny Machado didn't slide to avoid the tag, he could have done this and completely decked the second baseman, so I guess he was put in a lose-lose situation. So yeah, let me know in the comment section down below, which side of the fence are you on? While we're on the subject of controversy, we'll talk about the Jays versus the Phillies because there was some little drama in that game. The Jays start off with back-to-back jacks, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. gets a few more as the Phillies start jawing at each other. Now, Now, shout out to John Boy Media for putting this little compilation together with Gene Segura in the dugout and then Joe Girardi angry after the game. We'll show that once the highlights are concluded. But that kind of ignited the team, so the Phillies try to make the comeback, but then Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit a 465-foot home run. That was his third consecutive game with a home run, and Bryce Harper comes in, tries to complete the comeback, but he ends it with a strikeout. And after the game, Joe Girardi was not happy. He wanted to keep the conversation to the dugout only, and that's because the Phillies defense has been horrible. They have an 11 DRS, defensive run saves, for the season. That is easily the worst in all of baseball, but here's Joe Girardi pretty upset.
You can ask all you want. You got everything you're going to get about. All right, I'm done. I know you're doing your job, but that's it.
Joe, conversation or confrontation?
Next question.
How about the optics of all this? I mean,
Next
today,
question. Next question.
I mean, from
Jimmy,
baseball.
I'm not going to talk about it, Jimmy. I'm not going to talk about it. Next question. You got a baseball question? Ask me a baseball question.
The Angels versus the Red Sox. This was a pretty fun game. You have the best team in baseball versus Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, so you knew that fireworks were about to happen. The Angels jump out to an early lead, but Rafael Devers with home run number 11. He gives the Red Sox a 1-run lead. Mike Trout is able to squeak a baseball into no man's land for a single, and Shohei Ohtani says thank you very much with a go-ahead home run. And then you have the Angels able to close it. Their bullpen, thankfully, is able to hold it down. After the game, Matt Barnes, the guy that Shohei Ohtani hit a home run off to win the game, he said that Shohei is the most gifted and most talented player he has ever seen in the history of baseball. And I would agree with him. Shohei Ohtani, talent-wise, it begins and ends with him. I'm sorry, Babe Ruth, you're not the guy anymore. Now, for a career, obviously, Babe Ruth runs laps around Shohei Ohtani, but as a talented baseball player, Shohei Ohtani, he's it. Hey, Baltimore, let me just say this right now. I know you beat the Yankees yesterday, but Adam Plutko is not cut out to be a major league starter, and it was evident yesterday. Gary Sanchez, Clint Frazier, and Aaron Judge, they made me feel pretty bad for the fan base of the Orioles because I thought they were about to get run ruled, but Michael Franco and Freddie Galvis, they come back and they tie it up. Trey Mancini and then Michael Franco, they make Yankees Twitter erupt with a few insurance runs as Ryan Mountcastle is able to kind of, tie the bow and end the game. Also, shout out to Bruce Zimmerman, who came in for Adam Plutko. He was pretty dominant. He goes 5 2/3 innings, only allows 2 base hits and strikes out 6, so he stopped the bleeding. And the Yankees, they lose 10-6 against the Orioles. The A's versus the Twins. This one was pretty exciting. Max Kepler, who in my opinion is one of the most underrated players in baseball dating back the last few years. His 3-run home run allows the Twins to jump out in front, but then the A's score 4 runs in the 5th inning to reclaim a 5-4 lead. The A's get another one in the 7th to secure a 2-run lead, but then guess what happens? Jake Diekman happens yet again. He gives up a game-tying home run to Andrelton Simmons, but then the Twins answer back with some pretty bad defense. Josh Donaldson just whiffs it, and then a wild pitch on a strikeout gives the A's a lead and ultimately the victory. Mariners versus Cleveland. Shane Bieber has not been as good as of late. He's actually been getting kind of lit up. Kyle Lewis drives in a run, and then J.P. Crawford drives in the final 2 runs, and that was the end pretty much. The Mariners end up winning 3-2, and they stop the consecutive streak set by Shane Bieber, a record of consecutive games with 8 or more strikeouts. He was at 20, so they ruined that streak, and the Mariners are 1 game above 500, and they can get even better because Julio Rodriguez, J-Rob, their top prospect that is not called up yet, he is on fire and torching baseballs in the minors. The Marlins versus the Dodgers. Austin Barnes, he starts it off with a double, and Mookie Betts is looking to get hot with an RBI, but that was all that Pablo Lopez would allow the Dodgers to score. Adam Duvall, he wins it on a 3-run home run, and the Marlins close it in the final innings, and I do want to showcase their brand new uniforms. Look at how sexy these are. I really wish that I was a fan of the Marlins just so I could buy some of their jerseys, but you know what? Even though I'm not a Marlins fan, I'm about to go and buy 50 of those because those are so beautiful. The Nationals shut out the Diamondbacks yesterday. Eric Fetty has been consistently decent over the course of his career. He goes 7 innings for the first time in his career, only allows 3 hits and doesn't allow a single earned run. Yadiel Hernandez, this pinch hit home run gives the Nationals a lead, and then the Nationals score 2 more in the 8th, so they're now 3 games back of first place, even though they're below 500. So that NL East division, again, just like most of the divisions in baseball, it is going to be a wild race to the finish. The Giants beat the Pirates 4-1 yesterday. The score was tied going into the 5th inning. Mauricio Dubon makes a slick play, and Alex Wood good, was dominant yet again. 6 innings, only allows 1 earned run and racks up 7 strikeouts. He's only allowed 7 runs in his last 6 starts combined, so he has been really good. A wild pitch gives the Giants a lead, and then Mike Yastrzemski, his 2-run home run, puts the game out of reach. The Cubs versus the Tigers. Why would you sit Akil Baddoo for Jacoby Jones? I don't understand that. Akil Baddoo is a lefty, and the Cubs had a righty on the bump. Makes absolutely no sense. Whatever. The Cubs are able to scatter a few hits, and they end up with 6 runs, as Kyle Hendricks was Kyle Hendricks. 8 innings, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts, and of course, if it's Kyle Hendricks, he is not walking anyone, so the Cubs escape with a 5-1 victory. Was not really sure why Jacoby Jones was in the lineup, but okay, fine, whatever. The Brewers just barely skated past the Braves yesterday, 10-9. Jackie Bradley Jr. made yet another web gem. Daniel Vogelbach, he starts off the offense, and before you know it, the Brewers were up 8-0, and I for sure thought the game was going to be over, because when you have Freddie Peralta throwing 6 innings, only allowing 2 hits, and has 8 strikeouts, and then you give it off to that Brewers bullpen, it's lights out. The game is over. But every single relief pitcher for the Brewers yesterday allowed an earned run. Lorenzo Cain, luckily, his huge 2-run single in the 7th, and then Josh Hader barely getting the save. Again, the Brewers win 10-9. The White Sox, according to MLB, are the best team in baseball. They beat the Royals narrowly yesterday, 4-3. Tim Anderson is one of the best players in baseball at getting on base, so he gets on first, and then Adam Eaton Sox went for a 2-run home run. Jose Abreu, his mishap ties it up for the Royals, and then a sacrifice fly from the Royals gives them the lead. But then Yoan Moncada shows off that beautiful swing. I think he has my favorite swing in all of baseball, and then later on in the game, he gets thrown out by Whit Merrifield, who was playing right field, or maybe he was in a shift. I have no idea. The White Sox ultimately walk it off on a fantastic slide from Jose Abreu. And then the final 2 games from yesterday, Alex Bregman with his RBI single. It gives the Astros an early lead, as both starters for the Astros and the Rangers were really good. Lance McCullers goes 6 innings, does not allow a single earned run. Kyle Gibson goes 7 innings, allows 2 earned runs. Unfortunately, though, the bullpen for the Astros ruins a win for Lance McCullers, as Scrub gives up a 2-run home run to David Dahl. Then the Astros offense says, "Don't worry, man, we got you." They show up in the later innings, and they complete the sweep against the Rangers. And then the Reds versus the Rockies. Josh Fuentes has been an RBI machine lately. Connor Joe, he hits a missile that was too much for Tyler Naquin in center field. Now, Tyler Naquin does make up for it with 2 RBIs later on in the game. Shogo Akiyama puts them within 1, and then a wild pitch ties it, and then a wild pitch wins it for the Cincinnati Reds. So sloppy play from the Rockies gives the Reds a 7-6 victory. And that does it for today's MLB recap. Please let me know in the comment section down below. Are you on the side of Manny Machado, or do you still think that it was a dirty slide with the education of Adam Jones, a former multi-time All-Star? And maybe he's buddies with Manny Machado, so maybe he's defending his friend. But when you look at the correct camera angle and the fact that Manny Machado was making sure that Tommy was all right afterwards, in my opinion, now that I've been educated, it was a legal play, and he was just trying to avoid the double play, and he actually avoided being tagged. So ultimately, it worked out in his favor, and the Padres scored a few runs, and that's what it comes down to. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Stay safe.